another episode of The Independent Mindset, the podcast for candid conversations, staying curious, and simply being better. If you guys ever feel like doing us a favor, feel free to leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. So our big ones are Spotify and Apple Podcasts, of course. If you especially like a certain episode or topic, let us know on Instagram or share it with your friends who you know might enjoy the topic. I know both Jason and I would really appreciate that. So for today's episode, we had the pleasure of chatting with Michale Fyke. Michale entered the real estate business in 2018 with a 10-year background in marketing and sales. Achieving Rookie of the Year with RE/MAX affiliates and back-to-back 100% club level awards with RE/MAX in Canada, she has become one of the most trusted real estate agents in the National Capital Region, Ottawa for us Canadians. Her energy and enthusiasm, as you will see shortly, is definitely one of her secrets to being a successful agent. During this episode, we discussed the insane state of the market, even during COVID, the ultra-low interest rates and how these have affected real estate, what it takes to buy a home in these odd times, and much more. So we hope you guys enjoy. Cheers. So Michale, thank you for joining our podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, our pleasure. Our pleasure. We've been talking about, Jason and I talk about finance and the economy quite often, and we've been talking about real estate and just how insane it is, and just in like the last year, how much it's grown. So we figured we'd want to talk to a real estate agent and see how it's done, what their day looks like, but most importantly, talk about this crazy phenomenon that's been happening over, well, several years, but I guess it's been accentuated in the last year.
Absolutely.
But before we get to that, maybe tell the audience kind of who you are and how you got into real estate.
Absolutely. So I'm a part of RE/MAX Affiliates, which is a large brokerage in the Ottawa and surrounding areas. Prior to real estate, I've been in sales and marketing. That's kind of my background. That's what I love doing. I love the relationship sales and marketing provides with people. You're able to really build relationships with people, really learn their stories, and provide them a service that means something to them. And I really find passion in that. Mostly the housing market, the purchasing, buying, selling your home. It's such a huge part of your life. And I really, really enjoy being able to be a part of a family or an individual's journey on that portion of their life.
I gotta say, because it sounds like you have the perfect personality to be a real estate agent. Like, do you notice like other people getting into the profession maybe don't have that same approach and that same zeal for being part of that transitionary period in people's lives? Do you notice that like some do better or not as well if they have or don't have those characteristics?
Honestly, I think there's a real estate agent out there for everybody. I get told all the time, I talk a ton. I'm a loud person. I show my enjoyment a lot, which for some people is amazing. It makes that experience that much better. There are people out there though that are a different type of people. So those agents that are a bit more set back, that are a bit more quiet, a bit more business focused in a sense that they're more serious, there's clients out there for them too. And I say this to anybody that calls me to list or buy all the time. You spend a lot of time with your real estate agent. You need to trust them and you need to work well with them. So you want to connect and you want that person and their personality to be something that you mix with in this transaction.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my wife and I used Michale before, and I don't know. I think you're a good combo of extroversion, but introversion when need be. But I know what you mean. I can picture like I don't know, a wife being super excited that they just bought a house, and then maybe the husband being a bit bummed because it costs so much money.
That's it.
Michale, when you got started, how did you get your first few listings?
Yeah, so the nerve-wracking part of jumping into real estate is people don't just hand you listings, as much as I would love that. So for me personally, and I think for a lot of different agents getting into the business, it's a lot of who you know at the beginning. It's your social circle, it's your families, and really making sure they know that you're in the business, and sharing kind of what unique platform you have for them. So it's really spreading the word at the beginning to the people that you know, building your database with every single human being that you speak to, and communicating to them what you do.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, real estate, especially if the market's really good like it is now, is appealing to a lot of people. But when they get down to the nitty gritty, like it's not a 9 to 5 job; it's a hustle. Like you got to hustle hard. So can you kind of tell us what it is like day to day, or maybe how many hours on average you would typically work in a week? Because I know you can take phone calls late, early, weekends. That doesn't matter in the life of a real estate agent.
It doesn't. And I think that's the unpredictable part of this job is it's 100% not a job. Or if you do this, you may not be a great real estate agent, that you can put your phone down at 5 o'clock and walk away until 11 o'clock at night. It's just not that job. You need to be available. When it comes to day to day, extremely unpredictable. Day to day, hour to hour, mostly with the market that we're in right now, with listings coming and going so fast, you need to be on your toes. And so my day to day changes. Not one day looks the same. I spend a lot of time, as many agents will tell you, in their vehicles, eating, working, on your computer, on the phone. So very, very different. One big thing that I stand by and that I've learned throughout the years of real estate is somehow finding a bit of structure. That because real estate is so unpredictable, for me, it's important to block off certain times of the week or certain times of the month to really focus on myself, my business, continuing education, the tail end of real estate. Because that is kind of the brains of your operation. You need to make sure that's functioning well in order to serve your clients like they deserve.
Yeah, I imagine, it could be considered a very good problem, but I imagine if the market's really good and you're busy, before you know it, a month has gone by and all you were doing was, chasing clients and listings and helping them out. And you've, everything else has gone by the wayside, right?
100%. And that's the challenging part. You have all these wonderful ideas and you want to get them into motion. And it's the balance of being able to focus on them when you're still serving your clients well. And you're able to, you're your own self. So you need to be able to have that structure of focusing on your business in order to provide your clients the best service.
What does the back end look like? Like, you think real estate, you think like running around, showing properties, closing the deals, sending documents back and forth. What's all the stuff that people don't see or don't think about?
Paperwork. There is so much paperwork when it comes to transactions that needs to take place on the legal side of things that I think some people don't really see. But there's also, again, building your business. It's 100% focusing on your social media platforms, your websites, all of the marketing side of things, your graphics, your brochures, what really brands your business. It's very easy for you to become a real estate agent and say you're a real estate agent, have the kind of ticket that tells you you're a real estate agent, but it's a whole other avenue to create a brand for yourself and what really stands you out from the hundreds of other real estate agents that are out there. And to me, that's important, that you want to be able to offer your services, your brand, who you are, again, what's different from your neighbor that may be a real estate agent.
So with all these new real estate agents coming online, it seems like it's a very competitive profession. And I'm sure, some must do much better than others, just kind of the competition of it. But are you seeing with all these new people, like people getting washed out of the system, or do people tend to stick around and make a career out of it? Or is it the type of profession that there's mostly turnover?
I also, just to add on that, I have a question because I've been thinking about it more recently since the market has become crazier. And yes, you're seeing more real estate agents. Is there a part of you that also is kind of not angry, but maybe a little kind of resentful that there are people who kind of are just trying to profit from such a such a hungry industry right now, and you're like, hey, I put in the hours when it wasn't that easy to make a living in this market?
Honestly, to answer your question, Will, first, I'm not at all, because to me, yes, right now the market is insane. If you can land a listing right now, there's a really good chance you're going to be successful in selling that listing. The market's not going to stay a seller's market forever. And to me, it is so important. You may have a good year this year. You may have had a really good year last year with what's going on, but that won't last. If you don't build your brand, if you don't build your own business individually, it won't last. And to me, it's more important that I know that I have my clients that are dedicated to me, that trust me, that are referring me to their friends and family as well, because of what I'm doing, not just because I sold your house for $200,000 over asking, because they liked the experience from start to finish. Yes, the end result was amazing. Yes, they made great amount of money, but the whole experience from start to finish was great. And I think to answer the entire question as a whole, that is what stands people out. There's a ton of real estate agents out there. There's a ton of agents that can put a sign in the ground right now. The house will sell. There's no question the house will sell. But it's the entire experience, what stands you apart from other people. So how you're presented on social media, how you answer the phone and talk to your clients, how available are you, and how you, like I said, how you present yourself, your brand. So through your marketing pieces, through the photography and videography and explanations on these people's houses, and how well you know the client and the house or house you're purchasing. And I think that is extremely important, and amazing how many people don't get that service.
So you're really
Right.
under a microscope, because it sounds like you're combining both traditional marketing with your social media and possibly billboards or whatever you may do in handouts, but also
Mhm.
experiential marketing, where every single interaction with your clients kind of counts for, am I going to get that next referral or not? I mean, that sounds like a lot of pressure, but also a lot of fun, because everything that you touch is an opportunity to get the next person to come your way.
100%. It's pressure in a sense that it's you. Before real estate, I came from a large corporation that backed me. Everything was provided to me to be able to hand over. So in real estate, yes, there are teams out there, but myself personally, it's just me, which I like, because it gives me the pressure, but also the challenge that I'm interacting with this individual, and it's up to me to sell them on myself and my services. And it's completely in my hands to give them the best experience. So I know when their friend is selling or buying, or their family member is, they think of me right away, that they had a great experience. Try giving her a call.
So
Yeah, and they
what's
don't
a
say they don't say call Remax. They say call Michale.
Call Michelle. That's what I want.
what's a better
Exactly. Yeah.
feeling, closing the deal or getting a referral?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. There's not a better feeling in this market currently than calling a buyer to let them know they successfully won on a purchase.
That's true.
That
Yeah.
is the best call that can be made at the moment. But no matter how many referral calls you get in a week or a month, I still get butterflies to this day when a new call comes in, because it's just exciting. What house do they own? What house are you going to get to learn about? What neighborhood are you going to get to learn about? And who are these people that are selling? So to me, it's that whole story. It's not just let's make you money. It's tell me about the house. Tell me about why you love this house. And let's sell those features to get the next owner to love it as much as you guys did.
So there's a lot of art that goes into it. It's not just the science of the marketing and the communication, but it's also, what's the story of this property? What's its selling
Mhm.
feature? What kind of person would like it? Hey, I would kind of assume that you would, like, let's say you successfully sell a house in one area. Well, you might get another one in that area or two. Do you kind of naturally gain expertise in certain suburbs or certain locations as you go?
Definitely. I think real estate has changed a lot since technology has come into play. Since everything is done like with docus, like electronic signatures and so on, it allows real estate agents to capture a larger scope of work. So I believe say 10 years ago, a lot of people, if you sold real estate in Canada, for example, that's kind of your bubble, because you were driving to and from to do signatures. You were constantly back and forth with this client. Now everything is done remotely, that it allows you to really broaden your horizons in a sense of real estate, which I love, because like you just said, it allows me to get to know smaller towns. It allows me to get to know different nooks in the city. For me, even if I only had one listing in a little community, it's my job to find out everything about that community prior to list. So what schools are there? Where's the transit running? Everything about that community, which I love, because like you said, it really allows me to understand the city and the surrounding communities that much more.
So,
Go ahead, Will.
have you seen the new Netflix show? What is it? It's like Mortgage or Marriage, or Marriage or Mortgage. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, I saw the little ad for it.
Okay, I was curious if you had seen it, because now that my wife and I we're married and we own a house, we are always mad at the couples who choose the marriage over the down payment on a house. So I was just curious if you. It's all in Nashville, but anyways,
I'll have to watch it.
I was curious what you'd think of that. But
is the premise kind of like great big wedding or nice home sort of thing?
Yeah, essentially it's young couples in Nashville, and they have it's this odd business where it's two women, one's a real estate agent and one's a wedding planner. And the show is, it takes the couple through what their perfect awesome wedding could be, or what their house could be, and they go through like 3 houses usually that she finds in their budget and everything. And it's either you have enough to put a down payment on a house, or to pay for, usually I think a way too big of a wedding. And quite often they choose the wedding, and we're always like, oh, what are you doing? Anyways. Yeah.
No.
And to get to the nitty gritty of the market, because been talking about how crazy it is. Nashville, they, even in the show, they say how crazy the prices have become in Nashville. And I'm just like, they've seen nothing. So if we look at Ottawa and Canada, really, Canada in the past year has exploded. I just have the Canadian Real Estate Association numbers up here. So since between March 2020 and March 2021, the average Canadian house was worth $544,000, and it is now up to $716,000, which is an average augmentation of 31.6%. If we look at Ottawa specifically, it jumped by 29.1%. In Moncton, surprisingly, so the Maritimes, even more, rural or smaller towns have also jumped. Moncton is over 30%. So my first question, and this is all in the middle of COVID, and in many cases lockdowns, and people are wearing masks at best. If not, they don't want to see anybody. All of this stuff. So my first question is, what the hell is going on?
Your guess is as good as mine. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, the numbers in the last year, so many businesses were affected with COVID and the uncertainty that happened last March. And real estate, truly, it didn't skip a beat. It didn't. If anything, it fueled a fire that has just seen unbelievable growth in sale prices, like the numbers, Will, you just read off. To give you kind of a perspective on that, like in somewhat of a normal year, we usually see about a 3 to 4% increase in sale prices. So to be hitting around those 20% marks is absolutely unbelievable and really unheard of. It's incredible. I do think there's definitely some big contributing factors to this, why we saw this growth in the last year. I personally believe that when COVID hit, it didn't hit the higher earning population as hard financially. These people were most likely able to work from home, remain with their salaries were being paid. They got to work in the comforts of their own home during this very crazy time. That, along with the fact that people aren't traveling, saving money that way, they're not traveling, they're not spending money more so on entertainment, on going out at night. They're just saving a lot. So between that and the ultra low interest rates that we are experiencing, the housing market became a very, very attractive place for people to spend money and invest money. So we saw like those numbers when you look at the main buyers that kind of took over the market over the last year is what we call our move up buyers, and it completely goes hand in hand with COVID in a sense. Our move up buyers are people that are upgrading homes. So people that may want a larger house itself, maybe with that office in it, or people that may want a larger space outside with a bit more yard or property. So the luxury market has began to increase. And I really think it goes hand in hand, is that the people that are the higher earning people have decided to spend more money and are purchasing these larger homes. That, along with our supply, has been very, very low. So supply and demand, if that supply is low and these buyers are out there and want to invest their money, it has driven the prices to a place that that is absolutely unbelievable.
If you're seeing the luxury market, more the high end market, more spacious market go up, are you seeing things that are more densely populated, like say like condominiums or starter homes? Are you seeing a deflation in price there?
No, absolutely not. Because what's happened is it's opened the doors for first time home buyers as well to be able to capture that market. Um, a lot of people too are investing. They're seeing opportunity with the low interest rates, investing in properties as rentals, investing as properties as a retirement plan down the road. So a lot of these like more so your starter homes, your townhomes, your condos are being picked up either by the first time home buyers or investors.
Okay. I was wondering that. I was thinking like if I had to pick one residential real estate type that I would assume would have gone down, would have been condominiums. Like you think the great big sky rise and with the current global pandemic, like space is at a premium and having room to roam is at a premium. I would have assumed that condos would have gone down, but it's true that it opens the door to the first time home buyer.
It does. It 100% does. Again, condos, I believe last year condos saw about a 18, I think it was, no, sorry, I think it was about 13 or 15% increase. So again,
Oh, that's nothing.
fantastic number, but not sitting up to where your resident, like your detached or residential homes were sitting. You hit it on the button though, that a, to a normal person dealing with COVID, not being able to experience the luxuries that Ottawa has to offer, a condo didn't look as appealing to some people because it's a smaller space in a building with a bunch of people. So it didn't seem as attractive as some of these detached or single family homes that people were able to have a bit more of their own space, which I think is why you saw the gap in growth.
Are you seeing uh and William and Michelle, you both know Ottawa better than I do. I'm trying to think of like outside of the core, outside of the suburbs, when you start to get to more of the rural areas, are you seeing land, like vacant land going, like homesteads, farmsteads, like the more like proper country type of lots, are those going quickly too?
Yes, I'll answer you and say what vacant land, because there is none for sale. Honestly, it is the suburbs of Ottawa and then the small towns even further in the country have seen just
Yeah.
unbelievable growth, just as aggressive as you would see in Ottawa itself. I think many driving factors to that. One, people can work from home right now, and who knows how long that's going to actually last, which a lot are saying it could be forever if they really wanted to keep this position at home. So being able to work from home, being able to get a little bit more of affordable housing as you move out further. And I also think that COVID scared people. Being in dense areas when COVID came out was scary for a lot. So being able to move out rural with a bit smaller communities, less people, and having a property that your kids or your family members could enjoy was a lot more appealing than a denser neighborhood in the city.
And do you think, because we all know the market in general has highly increased, but do you think the country prices have been driven up quite precipitously because folks with fairly high incomes have decided to kind of really take a piece of the country market? Whereas back in the day, for the most part, you can get a lot more for your money, or you can simply get a smaller lot and a smaller house in the country, and it would cost you a fraction of what it would cost close to the city, right?
100%. I think that, again, there was a time that the thought of living 35 minutes from the city was absurd to people. That it felt like that you were going on an entire road trip out into the country. Again, with people not commuting every day back and forth and spending so much time at home, a lot of times if you have children with your kids at home as well, it became much more appealing to be in an area that you can step outside and enjoy your space. We have seen a lot as well, the GTA coming out this way. And that, I think, is driven a lot by, again, those same factors, working remotely. Price points with the GTA is a big one. There is still a significant gap in what real estate in the GTA surrounding areas goes for versus Ottawa and surrounding areas. So we've seen a huge amount of people from that area beginning to look and purchase in our area.
Right. For a few of our American listeners, by the way, the GTA is the Greater Toronto Area, and it is by far the largest populated area in Canada. And Ottawa, the national capital, is about 4 to 5 hours away from the GTA driving. But again, if a lot of people are working from home and they know that they can permanently, then why live in the most dense and expensive part of Canada?
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, here in Moncton, New Brunswick, it's the exact same real estate market. It's just insane. It's booming. Listings don't last more than a week. But most of the new buyers are from Ontario. And it's exactly those professionals who can't afford to work from home. And say they sell their home for $800,000 in the Ottawa area, you can buy the exact same house for $3 million. Pocket the difference. You don't have traffic. You have a lot less people. You essentially have the same services, and you have the luxury of one of the least densely populated provinces in the Maritimes or in Canada. But the downside is now we're seeing locals getting priced out of the market.
And I deal with this all the time in the rural areas where there is a lot of people from outlying cities coming in. The locals get frustrated. They do, because people have big money. When they've sold a big house that has brought them in a good chunk of change, and they're coming in and blowing some of these offers right out of the water. And it's frustrating. It is. And there's no other way of putting it. It is frustrating to some people that they just can't keep up with that. They haven't sold a $1.5 million home to move here. So it can definitely be a hard world to live in at times.
Can you give us a few examples of the most recent overbids? Because like I'm in Ottawa too, and one made the news the other day. I forget what the amount was, but 1 or 2 years ago, you heard that $200,000 was pretty rare. Like over asking was pretty rare, right? Now it's just like everyday, regular. That's how it works. So what are the latest insane examples of overbidding on a house that you've heard of?
Yeah. So on it, like it's frustrating. It can be so frustrating at times. And it's probably my number one question from every buyer is what do I need to offer to get this house? And we have strategies in place, and we have game plans and things to allow our clients to be successful in these. But the market, again, is so unpredictable that it's hard. It's hard to know that number specifically. Me personally, though, I can tell you a story, a listing I just had, and it was rural. So it was between Carleton Place and Perth. A beautiful little bungalow, finished lovely, went for over $200,000 over asking. And this is a prime example. It was a Muskoka buyer, so north of Toronto, sold their house in Muskokas, was coming this way to be closer to their children, came in over 200 over asking and won the deal. So those are, when I said about 15 minutes ago, the best call you make as a real estate agent, that would be that to your client, letting them know that that's what their house just sold for. But But that's a prime example of a house going way over market value, way over what that house is actually worth on this market, for somebody's desire and somebody's want of it to just get the deal done.
One thing that an article that I read yesterday is that the president of the Bank of Canada said that they're holding the key interest rate at 0.25% for now, but it'll most likely be increased to 0.5, within the next year. And then hopefully a little bit of monetary tightening to rein in inflation, to rein in the cash supply. Like at what point, like kind of what's the sweet spot of interest that you're starting to see a balanced market? Because right now interest rates are so low that people like, I don't think anyone buys a house saying I can afford a $400,000 house. I would think they buy a house saying I can afford $2,000 a month in payment, but that's gonna vary a lot depending on the interest rate. So kind of like what's the role of interest and kind of what's the sweet spot there?
So I do think that, like you just said, the interest rates dropped extremely low, like record low. Tail end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and that really soared the prices of sale prices in the area completely. The one thing I do want to definitely keep in mind is that the stress test has always been there. And the stress test is at a good number. So it's just under the 5% mark right now. And they are talking about increasing the stress test, I believe, at the beginning of June to just over 5%. So just like you said, that people budget themselves on their monthly expenses, what they can afford per month. What scared people about the low interest rates is if people were budgeting themselves per month at 1.7% or 1.5% interest rates, and the interest rates were to go up to 3, are these people still going to be able to afford their monthly payments? That was the scary part. We're hoping that the first-time home buyers won't feel that effect because they would have passed that stress test in order to purchase that property to begin with. So with the stress test sitting that way, they should be able to afford kind of exactly where they're sitting. I think though, and I tell any of my buyers to bank on that average, like just like the stress test does. It tests you, say, at 5%. Test yourself at 5%. Have your mortgage lender test yourself and pre-qualify you at 5%. So you're not stretching yourself thin. The last thing that I would want for my clients is the uncertainty or the worry if mortgage rates go up, we won't be able to afford this house any longer. I want my clients to be approved at a 5% margin.
So you kind of add in that buffer, say, and the stress test would be like, can you afford a 5% interest rate? And if it's less than that, well, hey, you pocket the difference or whatever it may be.
Yeah, better safe than sorry in my eyes. Like if you have extra money coming in, who's going to complain about that? And people, it's so easy in this market because it's so frustrating to find a property for some buyers that you fall in love with a house and you almost go above what you need to be doing in order to capture it. And as a real estate agent, it is important for me. Yes, I want to do deals. Yes, I want my clients to get a house, but I also do not want them to ever be in a situation that they can no longer afford this house, or they're mortgage poor. They can't do anything. So I want to be sure that it's clear to buyers. Test yourself on the 5%, so you have extra wiggle room if anything was to change.
How much of your job is now, because yes, of course, you want to make the sale at the end of the day and make your clients happy, but like you just kind of hinted to, how much of your role now is basically getting home buyers to calm down, or future home buyers to calm down and not necessarily jump for the first deal they see, because people are legit afraid to like not get a house. The demand is completely overblown the supply. And folks are just like, oh no, this house, I have to have it because it's essentially like an available house, period. That's why they're in love with it. So how much of you comes in to just basically talk them down or be the voice of reason?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Honestly, I've told clients before, that's too much money. It's too much. Like, you do not want to go over this amount of money on a property, on a specific property. So usually, like for me personally, I would tell them, guys, this is the max I would spend on this property. This is the max I think, even with everything going on, that you should spend on this property. If they're willing to go up to that dollar figure, fantastic. I think there's a big difference right now what this house is really worth and what the market's doing to this price right now. So again, if a client falls in love with a house and really wants it, I'll tell them what I think they should put down to get it. But there are 100% times I tell them, guys, just walk away from this one. It's just too much. Like it's not worth this much.
I have a friend who's a real estate agent, and he says that it's cyclical. Like obviously we're right in the seller's market right now. What can kind of cause the market to flip and become a buyer's market?
Supply. We need supply. I said that a little bit earlier when COVID hit, that the real estate market really didn't skip a beat. I do feel that there was a small period when COVID restrictions came in and everyone kind of freaked out and we didn't know what was going on and so much uncertainty, that the real estate market froze, even just for like a short period of time. And I think even that small pent up really drove this supply and demand imbalance that we're seeing right now. I do believe when interest rates start to kind of come back to more of a normal rate, and when we start seeing supply pick up, we will start seeing kind of more of a balanced market, which will, to me, will be a lot more exciting for both sides.
What increases supply? Because right now, like I'd assume if you're selling, well, you also have to buy something, so you're just kind of playing musical chairs there. But is it real estate development? Is it building suburbs? Like what creates supply?
You nailed both things right on the button right there. New builds create supply, and new builds are so far behind right now. So even if you were to purchase a new build, many of them you're not getting till 2022. So those people that have purchased new builds aren't selling right now because they are in their homes now until that new build's ready. So that has really slowed down the sale of houses. And again, in this market, you are not selling your home until you have secured a purchase. It is taking you that much longer to purchase, which means there's so many people just sitting on their homes waiting until they finally are successful with a deal. I also do think that with COVID, as great as it has affected the real estate market, there are still a large group of people out there that don't want people in their house, that are uncomfortable with the idea of putting their house on the market and having people come through and walk it. So I do think it has stopped a small portion of the population to even think about listing and moving and dealing with this whole pandemic that we're in.
It definitely doesn't show in the prices, that's for sure.
Oh.
but another thing I imagine driving up or slowing down the supply is these new builds are now going to cost more money because the actual materials are insane. Like lumber is almost tripled now. And not only that, it's slowing, like the supply chain is slowed down and the price of every product and material has risen. Therefore, it'll take longer, and your house or your new build is going to be to cost more from the get-go. So pretty vicious cycle right now.
It is a vicious cycle, and that's the hard, like you guys both just said, you need to sell to buy. You need to buy to sell. And if one of the sides is extremely challenging for you right now, the sell isn't going to happen.
Yeah. So slightly segue here, but who are buying houses? Like if we were to generalize here, Ottawa, the Ottawa market, who's moving into downtown, who's moving to the country, who are moving into the suburbs, roughly?
Yeah. So again, Ottawa as a whole has seen an amazing growth. So every area is still growing. People are still buying in these areas. I would say that the suburbs are seeing the biggest growth in Ottawa. Canada, Barhaven, Orleans.
Nuts. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely unbelievable. From what I believe and understand, it's a lot of the downtown core or the downtown hub are beginning to move out to the suburb areas. Again, same reasons, whether they just don't want to be in the downtown condensed area, whether they're working remotely now and are able to work in their comforts of their own home. And again, it's a different lifestyle out there. You are getting, the further you get out from the downtown core, the more a parcel of land may be a little bit bigger. The house may be a little bit bigger. There are newer homes in those areas. So again, I find that a lot of it's a slow and steady almost push out. The downtown's kind of moving suburbs, the suburbs kind of moving out to the country. And then on top of all that, we're getting the influx of people coming in. So I've even dealt personally with a few clients from the East Coast because of COVID and their family members that live in the Ottawa area. It kind of was a shock to them. Like, I want to be close to my family, that if heaven forbid this ever happened again, that I can still see them. So we have seen a big increase of out-of-towners, if you could say, coming into this area.
Who's filling the downtown core if kind of like the downtown's moving to the outside and the periphery's moving to the country?
So we still see a ton of downtown core move-up buyers. So a lot of people selling a lot of investments downtown, of people purchasing, because we do hope, having like fingers crossed, that the world does go back to somewhat of a normal lifestyle. So it has allowed people to still kind of invest, still kind of move up in the downtown area, and still people still work. There are still jobs that are convenient to the downtown location, but you will notice that in the downtown core, condos come up quite a bit and sit for a little while in the downtown core area right now.
If I kind of like do the mental exercise and follow, like, let's say everything opens back up and we go back to normal within the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm almost thinking that you're going to see a wealth distribution starting to happen with the outside, let's say the suburbs and the country area is going to be more the richer people who have the professions like in the work from home. And I'd almost have a tendency to say that you're going to see a concentration of poverty even more so than you typically see within the downtown areas. As now, like, everyone who could move has moved, and why would they come back to the city center now that they get used to a more comfortable, slower paced lifestyle? Like, does that seem possible, or is that me just kind of like following a rabbit trail?
I think Ottawa is a very unique city compared to most, because it's a government city. And a lot of military as well. So I do think Ottawa's downtown core has a uniqueness about it that I don't see it ever plummeting to a point of that personally. I think it has so much to offer employment wise. And I do feel, even when we get back to hopefully normal, that those government buildings will be full again, that the employees will go back, maybe not full time, but they will go back to work that makes the downtown core thrive and be vibrant. So I can't see that happening in this area. What I can say though is, not only do I agree with you that the outskirts are becoming sought after and people are spending big bucks to be out here, the other huge industry that we are seeing right now is waterfront property. Has skyrocketed, beyond belief. One, because the supply just isn't in waterfront. There's just so many waterfront homes out there. And people are spending money on vacation properties to be able to enjoy instead of travel.
Right. Yeah, kind of like the pent up dollars from travel and leisure essentially went into real estate in a lot of cases.
And lumber.
And home improvement.
Trust me. I built my deck in my fence. It sucked.
Oh my God.
I saved on labor costs, but I really didn't because of the lumber. But anyway, so what you're saying is Ottawa will not be the next Detroit.
I don't think so.
And we always say that in Canada. It's true. Basically, like, if Ottawa will be screwed only if every other metropolitan is screwed before Ottawa.
Exactly.
Is often kind of what you hear. Just before we go to like the few parting questions and maybe some tips and tricks from you, I think we all agree that all sectors right now are, overvalued, but which ones would you say are overvalued compared to others? So if we take, for example, suburbs versus country versus urban, and then also maybe residential versus commercial or industrial.
So I would say that suburbs are overvalued right now. That's where I would sit for what you're getting. And again, I think overvalued to me could be a lot different than overvalued to you. What you see valuable in a home, to me, when I see someone paying $200 extra $1,000 for a home, but they've gained 5 acres of land and a large home, to me, that's value. And I can see and understand it. To others, being in the perfect neighborhood in Stittsville is value to them. So they would spend $200 extra $1,000. So they're sitting in that neighborhood. Right. So to me, I couldn't overvalue and undervalue one because to me, it's your individual preference on value and what really is important to you. I can say that the growth in Canada, Stittsville, Barrhaven, Orleans blows me out of the water some days that I'm even shocked. So that I would say is the hottest areas of overvalue.
Yeah. I mean, they're selling, Jason, just to give you an example there, and Michale could confirm this way better than me, but Canada, for example, way out west, so the far western suburbs of Ottawa, you have small townhouses, that have shared walls that are going for $600,000-$700,000, no problem.
You're kidding.
Oh yeah, no problem, right, Michale?
No problem. Not even
in Moncton, let's say pre-COVID, before the big price inflation, that I'd say houses increased about 30. Oh, you said it earlier, like 30%, give or take, in Moncton seems about right. 600,000, you'd get yourself 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom, double garage, private entryway, not as many acres as you want, and still like within city limits, essentially.
So you're telling me to sell my house and move out there?
That's what's happening. That's 1,000% what's happening right now.
And Michale, maybe you don't know this, but maybe because you're not necessarily in commercial real estate, I don't know, but has commercial maybe not gone down, but has it kept up with the rest of the inflation in the market? Because I'm thinking there's a lot of, commercial space that aren't even allowed to open in some cases. So how has that been affected, or do you know?
Truthfully, I don't do really any commercial real estate.
Right.
I'm more focused on residential. What I can say is, though, people are still focused on the future. And although we're living in this crazy, isolated, restricted world right now, there are a lot of people, mostly on a commercial sense or business sense, that are forecasting past this. So I do think that commercial has still been able to keep up if the purchasers have the vision of the future instead of right now. But I can't talk too much on those numbers, as I'm not as involved in commercial.
Right.
So let's say we don't want to keep you up too late here. I'm sure you got some selling to go do. But what's some of your advice for first-time home buyers? Like, let's say you're completely new. It's the first time that I'm a buyer. It's the first time I go to look at houses. What's some of the things I should be aware of?
So any first-time home buyer that I would talk to, I would say your number one thing you should do is be sure you're ready, which basically means make sure your ducks are in a row and talk to the right people before you start bringing your bum through the door. So whether that's your mortgage broker, whether that's finding a real estate agent that you trust and that, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, that you really mesh with, because these are the people. As a first-time home buyer, you're new. You don't understand the ropes and what needs to go in to make a smart purchase mostly in a real estate world like we're in right now. So having a trusted mortgage broker, having a trusted real estate agent to help you guide through that web, I would say should be the first call a first-time home buyer makes before they even start looking at homes. Because it is so important to know your budget, know financially what is comfortable to you, and then talking to your real estate agent and knowing, okay, if this is X amount of money that we want to spend, what should we be looking at in this market?
And what's the there are incentives, there are mechanisms in place for first-time home buyers. So can you just talk a bit about that? What's the advantage, or why should, even if, house prices are insane, why should a young couple, for instance, look at buying?
Yeah. So the incentive, honestly, I think is fantastic for the right person, for the right first-time home buyers. It allows so many people the opportunity to get into the housing market and into home ownership when other times they may not have been able to because of affordability. So it allows them to get that monthly mortgage payment lower, which is extremely beneficial. So I'm a supporter of the first time home buyer incentive if you need it. That is my ticket. If you're a first time home buyer and financially are in a situation that you can afford without it, I would definitely recommend that route, because nothing comes free. But it definitely, if you're in the situation that the only way you can get into this housing market is a little bit of help, what a fantastic opportunity for first-time home buyers.
And for basically the last question, at least I have for you, is for anybody who we alluded to it at the beginning, but anybody who's thinking of getting into your profession, so being a real estate agent, what is your advice? What are the perks, but what are the hurdles too? What's the good and the bad?
So you have the opportunity in real estate to make a really great sum of money. It's a fantastic career to build what you make of it. And I think that's the big thing. You can sell a couple houses a year and make a comfortable salary, or you could be selling high volumes of homes and making an extremely comfortable salary. The biggest thing, and I just touched on it is what you make of it. This isn't a career that you sit and it just comes to you. It is 100% not that career. So you are the kind of the engine to this whole vehicle that you have to put your time, put your effort into all components of this job. And that does mean answering the phone at 10 o'clock at night when an offer is coming through. It does mean all of a sudden having to close your Sunday because you're on the road now all day. So there's definitely give and takes about it, but anyone that's thinking about it, I love the career, but it needs to be a career that fits your lifestyle, because it is not your clock in at 9, clock out at 5 o'clock and
Right.
And see you later.
I assume it's that just middle, because I by definition, I think it's a neat job because it is a freedom, right? Like you put in what you want to get out of it, which is great. So there's probably, like you said, you could say like, hey, I want to spend more time with my family, so I'll only, try to pick up so many clients for this year or the next 4 months or whatever it is. However, there's that just middle of not wanting to be too quiet about it, because then you probably lose good opportunities and your reputation goes down, or it's just not as out there as others.
100, you nailed it. That it 100%. You make it what you want it to be, and that's the nice part about real estate. You can plan your days somewhat. That if you want to spend the morning with your family and work the afternoon, if you want on a Monday, well, maybe not right now, but go shopping at Costco or HomeSense or those type of things. You can plan your day to do that, which is a fantastic freedom. It's a give and take. It really is. And I know, even getting into it, I remember starting thinking, oh, if I can do X amount of deals a year, I'd be extremely happy. I can balance my kind of work life and home life. And then the referrals start coming in, and there is not for 1 second that I would want to say no to any of the referrals. And that number that I started with at the beginning has gone up substantially, even after the first year of real estate. So you kind of get caught up in it, and it becomes exciting and a challenge and a goal to to get more clients and close more deals this year.
For sure.
And it's a lot of fun.
For sure, I can imagine. Jason, anything on your end?
No, I was just thinking, let's give Michale some space if she wants to pitch a little bit where people can find her.
Absolutely. So social media is a big one. You can follow me on my Instagram page at Michale Fyke Real Estate. My website as well, www.michalefyke.com. And I'm always here. Whether you're thinking of selling or thinking of buying or just want to understand your actual neighborhood specifically a little bit more, or just to find out what your home is worth. It's always interesting. I even found before I was a real estate agent, it's always interesting just to know these tidbits of information. So feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. I'm happy to help anyone any way they can.
Right on. Well, we'll make sure we have all of those links and that info in our episode notes, so people will be able to contact you if they wish. And as usual, we're found wherever podcasts are listened to. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify are the main ones, and we also have our The Indie Mindset Instagram page, which we'll also share share your info with the audience there as well. So Michale, thanks a lot for your time. It was really appreciated.
Thank you guys. Thank you for thinking of me and giving me a call. I'm happy. I'm happy to be on.
Well, we loved having you. Thank you very much. I gotta say, I learned a lot and I really enjoyed this one.
Perfect. Thank you.